So after 8.1, we actually just take one section from chapter 8, and then we jump to chapter 10 and kind of smush it all together. So 8.1 had a lot to do with polygons, and chapter 10 is all about circles. So the first section you guys are going to do today is you're going to learn the basic vocab about circles. So we have 6 terms here that you're going to have to know, and you're going to get to practice using those terms and figuring out how to find them in a diagram. So the first one is a chord. A chord is a segment whose endpoints are on the circumference of the circle. A segment whose endpoints are on the circumference of the circle. Now what that means is you have a segment. You guys know that a segment is just a piece of a line with 2 endpoints, and both endpoints have to be on the circle. So an example would be something like this. Or an example could be something a little bit longer like that. Those are both examples of chords. The next one is a diameter, and a diameter is actually a type of chord. It's a special chord, so it's a chord that goes through the center of the circle. A diameter is something you guys have definitely heard of before, but maybe just not in this definition. So it's a chord, so if this is my center of the circle, I want to draw a chord that goes through that center. So it's going to look something like that. I could draw a lot of chords, or sorry, a lot of diameters in one circle, but there's just 2 examples. So again, it's a chord that goes through that center of the circle. The next one is a radius. So a radius is a segment that connects the center to the outside or the circumference of a circle. So it connects the center to the outside of a circle. Again, a radius is something you guys have definitely heard of, but again, maybe just not in this definition. So if there's my center, a radius goes from that center to the outside. And I could draw a ton of those on one circle. Another thing you guys probably know is that a radius is half the diameter. The next one is a secant. So a secant, we're usually talking about a secant line. So you can add that in there. A secant line is a line that intersects the circle at 2 points. So it goes through the circle twice. It hits that circle at 2 points. So it's kind of like a chord because it hits at 2 points, but it's a line this time. So let's say I draw my 2 intersection points here. A secant line just goes through it and has 2 arrows. So it has to be a line this time. It's like a chord that I just extended and put arrows on the ends. The next one is very similar. It's a tangent line. So you've heard tangent before, but tangent line is something different. So it's a different definition for the word tangent. That's a line that intersects the circle at 1 point. A line that intersects the circle at 1 point. So if I put a point here, a tangent, because it only goes through once, can only graze that circle and just continue. So there's no way it could go through the circle and only hit that circle once. And the last one is a point of tangency, and that's actually the point where the tangent line intersects the circle. So the point where the tangent line intersects the circle. So again, if I would draw a tangent line here, it only hits at that 1 point. So my point of tangency has to be that point right there. So you're hearing a lot about segments and points and lines. So you have to think back to chapter 1 and how you learn to write and name all of these things. So if we look at this part 2 down here, we're going to do together. Notice that we have segments, we have lines, we have points. So you need to kind of get back into that mode of writing things with the correct notation. So it says complete each blank below using the diagram to the right. So we're going to identify which of the 6 objects these things are. So segment AD, if I look at AD, it's this piece here. If you think to yourself about what AD is, hopefully you realize that that's going to be a diameter. You can write any kind of reason that helps you remember what it is. I think in simple terms, it's a diameter because it's a chord that goes through the center. Again, you can write something else if you want, or if you feel like you're pretty good with that one, you don't need to write a reason at all. The next one is segment HB, so here. Segment HB is a chord. And the way I know that is because it has 2 endpoints on the circle. So H and B both lie on that circle. So those are endpoints. That makes it a chord. The next one is talking about line GE. Line GE. That's going to be a tangent because it hits the circle or intersects the circle once. The next one is JK, line JK. So if we look at that here, line JK is a secant because it hits the circle twice. Notice those 2 are noted as lines, where the first 2 were noted as segments. Part E should also be a segment. So this one says AC, which is this little piece here. Hopefully that's an easy one to tell that that's a radius. You could say because it connects the center and the circumference. You could say because it's half the diameter, which I think is probably the easiest. And the last one is point F, and that's a point of tangency. And that's point of tangency because it's the point where the tangent line hits the circle. Now, the one other thing you might see when you're practicing on the other side of this paper is if you see this circle, the way you name a circle is by drawing a little circle and writing C, like circle C, or you might write circle with the center C, like that. So if you see that on the back, or if you're asked to name a circle, you always use that center point, and you write, or you draw a little circle in front of that center point. So what you're going to do now is you're going to go ahead and finish the back of this worksheet. So there's a lot of different types of questions dealing with this vocab. And then the answer key will be online for you to check when you are finished.